put on your four-ways to turn, dipshit. You turn on your turn signal to turn. And don't you know, you turn on your turn signal to turn and then you drive for another 2 miles with it on like I do. Hey, if you're new to my channel, make sure you click that subscribe button and punch that bell so you get notifications whenever I upload any new content, which is usually on Wednesdays. Hope you enjoy the video. Hey YouTube, it's motomattman out on the VFR on another blustery day. I mean, it could be worse though. Last week, went out on the bike. Next day, temperature dropped like a rock, and we had snow. We had snow for a couple of days. Snow is all gone. It's blustery because it's supposed to rain today, and if you look at the sky here, you can tell, yeah, it's gonna rain. So that's what we got going on today, weather-wise at least. I got a couple things to talk about though. One of the things, first thing I want to talk about is I was at the gas station earlier, and a guy pulled in. I was drinking one of the bottles of Starbucks iced coffee deal, and I'd stopped to get refills, smoky thing refills, so I was puffing on one of those and just standing off to the side, and this dude comes in, pulls up to a gas pump, gets off his bike, and first of all cleans his face shield with the little squeegee thing you've got for cleaning the windshields, which, I mean, I'm sure we've all done that, and you've seen other people on YouTube videos and pictures and stuff on Instagram doing that. That's not a big deal. But the dude was on an enduro, a dual sport, dual purpose, whatever you want to call it. And there's the observatory park where I took you guys last week. But anyway, he was on a dual sport, and it was, I mean, absolutely, he and the bike were absolutely covered in mud, and that's what he was cleaning off his face shield, was he was getting rid of the mud. I mean, it was everywhere. When he pulled away, mud went like flying off his back tire, just blowing away because it was so caked with mud. I don't know where he had been, but it got me thinking. It got me thinking about how I miss having a dual sport. I used to have one. As a matter of fact, at one point in time, it was my primary mode of transportation. It wasn't a very big one. I'll give you the little Reader's Digest version of the story of how I came about having it. It was back in the mid-80s, and I had a 1986 GPZ 900, otherwise known as a Kawasaki 900 Ninja at that time. Same bike as Top Cruise rode in Top Gun. Bought it brand new, bought it before Top Gun came out. So it's not like, ooh, cool bike, cool movie, I think I'm going to learn how to ride. I'm going to go buy a 900 Ninja just like in a movie, and that's what I'm going to learn how to ride on. And then I'll be just as cool as he is. No, that's not the deal. Okay? What the deal was is I had the bike and the movie came out after I already had the bike. But anyway, how it fits into this is I was hanging out down at the Strip in Virginia Beach with a bunch of friends, and I took a kryptonite lock and I locked the bike, locked the forks and locked the bike using the kryptonite lock, locked the front wheel to a parking meter, and we went off with a bunch of people in pickup trucks and cars and whatnot, left most of the bikes there, had a little bit too much to drink, and ended up crashing at somebody else's apartment after a party. Went back the next morning to get my bike, and the bike was gone. And what they had done was they had literally wiggled the parking meter into concrete enough, and the parking meters were down into the concrete sidewalk. And for those of you that know Virginia Beach, it was on 3rd Street down on the loop is where it was. And I'd locked it to that parking meter, and they'd wiggled the parking meter and literally pulled the parking meter out of the ground. And I'm assuming a couple of guys rolled the bike by holding the front wheel off the ground, rolled the bike up a ramp onto a trailer or into the bed of a truck or whatever. But they stole my bike. Insurance company paid off the bike, but would not insure me. Could not find anybody that would insure me for another sport bike like that. So I ended up with a 1986 Suzuki SP200 dual sport, enduro, dual purpose, whatever you want to call it. That's what I ended up with. I'll be honest, it was a great bike. I had a blast on the bike. I mean, I couldn't do, obviously, the same things that I was able to do on a Ninja, especially on a 900, but I mean, I had a blast on the daggone thing. It was awesome. The advertised top speed of the bike was 75 miles an hour. I'm here to tell you that the bike would do well over that. Anytime I had people that would follow me, the speedometer would only go, yeah, there's the damn blink again. Told you guys. I ride for damn 2 miles with a blinker on. Anyway, I'd have people that would follow me. The speedometer only went to, I don't even remember, 75, 85, something like that. But I had people follow me, and if I hit over 100 miles an hour on that bike, which took work, it would pop the taillight. It'd blow the taillight, brake light. Bulb would blow. So I used to carry one, and it came with a little fender mounted bag behind the seat, and I'd carry my bungee net and spare taillights, bulbs. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. The whole point was the bike was a blast. I mean, I used to lay that thing over going around turns on the street, even with the knobby tires on it. I mean, had a blast. It was not by any stretch of the imagination the best street bike in the world, nor was it the best dirt bike in the world. But it was a great bike that I could go and have fun on off-road and ride it on the street. Now, could I have ridden it on a regular basis, especially today, like you could an adventure touring bike? No. But I couldn't have done the jumps and the hooligan type shenanigans on and off the road on an adventure touring bike that I was able to do on that bike. But it was a great bike. So what it made me start thinking about was, if I could just add a bike, I don't have to get rid of anything, but just add a bike, what bike would I want to add? And you know what, I think a dual sport is something I would want to add to my collection of bikes. I really do. And my question is to everybody out there, if you could add a bike, not get rid of a bike that you already have, replace a bike, trade in your bike, not that. Somebody just gave you, you know, a few $1,000, and let's keep it to a few $1,000. Look, I'm not talking about, yeah, if I could just add a bike, you know, unlimited money, yeah, I'd go out and I'd buy a new Ninja H2. I'd go out and I'd buy an Aprilia SB4 race. No, that's not what I'm talking about. No, that's not what I'm talking about. And it's RSV4 factory is what I was meaning to say about the Aprilia. So, just wanted to make sure Well, I got that right, so y'all don't think I'm a total idiot. But anyway, that's kind of my question. You got, you know, $3 grand. Let's limit it to $3 grand. Okay? Because I figure for $3 grand you could get a hell of a used dual sport. I mean, you could get a bunch of things. Well, you could get a used sporty. You could get a used sport bike. You know, I'm sure you could get a Honda Magna for that kind of money. An old Kawasaki Eliminator for that kind of money. So what is it that you would do? What is it you would get if you could? You know, just to add to what you've already got. What would you do? Is there a bike that you would add? For me, like I said, a dual sport. I mean, would I like something that was maybe like a 450, somewhere around there? Yeah, probably more so than the 200, but I'll be honest with you, I'd take another Suzuki SP200 in a heartbeat. It's a great bike. And eventually I ended up putting street tires on it, so I had a Supermoto before any of us really knew what the hell a Supermoto was. But anyway, you know, what would you choose? That's my question for the week. What would you choose if somebody just handed you $3 grand and said, go buy a bike? You can't add anything to it. It's $3 grand. I mean, you know, if you tell me I looked and the bike that I want, the best deal I could find was one for $3,100, okay, you know, but no, you can't add, you know, $14,000 to your $3 grand and come up with something. You know, let's keep it right around $3 grand, as close as we can. All right, next thing I wanted to talk about is phone mounts for your bike. I see people asking about it all the time on Facebook, especially on Facebook forums, asking for advice on phone mounts. Okay? Now, a couple of things I've got to say about that. Number one, if you're answering questions on a Facebook forum, look, you don't have to be a smart ass with the answers. That's the first thing. Look, just because maybe you ride and you say, hey, part of the riding a motorcycle is to get away from it all. Put your phone in your pocket. Leave it at home. Okay, that's your opinion. But here's something you got to remember. First of all, I've got my phone right here, and right now, playing through my Sena is music. Okay? So I use it for that. And could I put it in my pocket? Sure, I could put it in my pocket. People have said GPS, and they're like, I saw somebody write on the thing, hey, that's what, you know, going for a ride on a motorcycle. Half of the fun is riding off someplace and getting lost and having to find your way back. Okay, cool. That works really well. Unless you're riding your motorcycle to someplace specific. Motorcycles, just so everybody knows, motorcycles for everybody are not just a hobby thing that they do on the weekend. You know, if I can go, if I'm going someplace by myself and I'm going there and don't have to take anything with me or don't have to pick up anything that I cannot put in my pocket or bungee cord to the back of my bike, then I'm on the bike. So if I can, I am. So there are times I may be going someplace to pick up something for myself or for the kids or for my wife that requires me to actually know where the hell I'm going, and it may be a place I've never been before. So I've got the GPS on. You've got people that ride their motorcycle to work, that's what they use for commuting. Okay, half of the fun is getting lost. If I gotta be at work and clocked in by 9 o'clock in the morning, I really don't want to get lost. And yeah, you could say, okay, well, you know where you're going to work. Well, what if there's some kind of road closure? And I'll be perfectly honest, out here where I live, they're not the best at the detour deal. Okay? So following at a detour could be a problem. And maybe there's not a detour because maybe it's not a road closure because they're doing road construction. It could be an accident up ahead that's closed something. So maybe you need the GPS for that. It'd be nice to have it right here. You know, not to mention the fact that just because somebody else thinks, hey, you shouldn't need your phone mounted on your bike, you should put it in your damn pocket. Okay, that's your opinion. You don't have to be nasty to people. If somebody's asking for a suggestion of phone mount for their bike, just don't answer the question. If you don't use a phone mount, just don't answer the question. Let me ask you this. To that person that would answer the question, just put it in your pocket. You don't need a phone mount. Well, what if I post and, you know, a question to people, hey, I want a recommendation on tire for a rear tire for my KX250, and the only thing you have experience with is riding street bikes. Are you going to answer the question telling me what Dunlop qualifier tire or whatever I need to be using on my dirt bike? No, you're not going to answer the question. So if somebody asks for a recommendation for something that you don't use, just don't answer the question. But anyway, that's my rant. What my big thing with talking about the phone mount is this goes to people that are asking the question. What kind of phone mount? And I see all kinds of people with, I think it's called a quad lock or quadrilock or something like that. I don't have any experience with that at all. The phone mounts that I use are, you don't put on your four ways to turn, dipshit. You turn on your turn signal to turn. And don't you know, you turn on your turn signal to turn and then you drive for another 2 miles with it on like I do. Anyway, I have no experience with any kind of phone mount on the bike other than the RAM mount. I always, once phones became a thing on a bike where you had the opportunity, look, my first cell phone was one of the bag phones, so I didn't take it on the bike with me. I left it at home. But when it became a thing with smartphones specifically, the first phone mount that I purchased was the RAM mount, and I first bought it for the VFR because it has an option for a stem mount, because the stem bolt here on most sport bikes is hollow. Okay, so they make a mount that goes down in there and you tighten it up and it expands, and then it has a little ball that sticks off of it, and you mount the phone mount to the ball. And I'm going to stop up the road a little ways when I get to the gas station and I'll actually show you how it works. But anyway, it mounts it right dead center in the middle. I don't have to add it on a sport bike or a sport touring bike. I don't have to add anything to a handlebar, which is really nice considering that these are they're clip-ons, but they're not clip-ons. I mean, they mount directly to the top of the forks. Okay, it's not a bar that goes all the way across. And when I get off the bike, I'll show you. For those of you that aren't familiar or haven't noticed it in one of my other videos, people that are more accustomed to riding a cruiser where it's a handlebar, I'll show you that. I'll show you how it's mounted in here, and I'll show you a little bit more about the phone mount itself. But what I'll tell you is I have the RAM mount X grip on this bike. I also had the RAM mount X grip attached to the handlebars on my Sporty. I no longer have one on the Sporty, not because I don't like the phone mount, but on the Sporty I put my phone in my pocket, and I put it in my pocket not because I think that's where it belongs or I don't need to have access to my phone. I don't. Once I put the bar-end mirrors on the Sporty, it cleaned up a whole lot up here, and I just didn't like the way any phone mount looked. connected to my handlebars. That's all it was. It wasn't that I didn't like the ram mount X grip. As a matter of fact, I will tell you, I have a ram mount X grip on my Maxim, my Yamaha Maxim. Mrs. motomattman has a ram mount X grip phone mount on her Sporty. I have a ram mount X grip, and I'm going to go over here to finish this part of the video. So I'm not standing here having everybody look at me like I'm something wrong with me. I'm some kind of total nut job. But anyway, the deal is that I also have one that's connected to a suction cup deal that's mounted to the windshield of my car. Okay, now here's the deal. Okay, and here's how this thing works. You squeeze it here, and that allows you to put your phone in, and then you release it, and it holds your phone there. It comes with a rubber gasket kind of deal on here. Let me set the bike up straight so it makes more sense. Comes with a rubber gasket thing that comes over that'll lock these in place. I don't use it. I've never used it. I've had this bike well up into the triple digits and never had any kind of concern about the phone coming loose. Never lost the phone. Nothing ever came out of it. Never had it on that happen on any of the bikes or in the car or the pickup truck. Okay, here's what I was talking about. The bar. There's no bar that connects here. I actually have a mount here for a GoPro, and that sometimes I'll take this off and put the GoPro there for the shots up to me. But here's what I was talking about a ball mount deal. Okay, if I can get this loose enough. This ball mounts down into the steering stem nut, and then you got another ball on the back of this deal. You hook this deal down here, and then you tighten it up to get it in your place where you want it. And I'm sure I don't have this where I normally have it, but that's the gist of it. And you put this here, and that's definitely not where I normally have it. But you could, I think what I normally do is I have it angled up like that, and then this there, that's how I normally have it. There we go. Now we're back to normal. But as you can see from the side, you can angle this deal. But anyway, that's my recommendation on the phone mount for your bike. And again, you know, if somebody asks you about something that you don't use or you don't like, and I don't mean ask you specifically, but ask like on an Instagram post, a Facebook post, whatever, and it's not something that you use or you think you would ever use, or maybe you don't think anybody should use it, just keep your thoughts to yourself. Just because you don't want to use a phone mount doesn't mean nobody should use a phone mount. You know, just because you don't like shorty levers doesn't mean that I don't like shorty levers. And if I want to use shorty levers, I'll use shorty levers. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I hate the fact that I don't have that as an option on my Sportster, because these levers are adjustable. I can adjust how far out or how far in they are. You know, and I'm only using 2 fingers for my clutch and 2 fingers for my front brake. So I don't need these big long honking levers that are a pain in the ass to pull anyway. But anyway, that's what I got for you today. Number 1, if I had an extra $3 grand laying around, I'd go buy me a dual sport just to knock around on. I miss having one. Saw a guy at the gas station on one, made me say, hey, wow. Now, I wouldn't replace any of my bikes for one, and I've had people suggest you know, turning my KX, making it street legal and turn it into a dual sport. And I'm sure there are people that say, hey, that's a great idea, why not do that? Here's the reason. It's 2-stroke. And it's not auto lube. What it is I have to mix the gas and the oil together, which means my trip out on my KX would be limited to the range of my fuel tank, because I can't just stop at the gas station and buy gas. Whereas if I had a 4-stroke dual sport, I could. Okay, that's the reason there. Okay, and my question that went along with that is if somebody handed you $3 and said you don't have to replace a bike or get rid of a bike, your wife isn't telling you, hey, you've got to get rid of a bike because you're adding a bike, or maybe it's your husband that's saying you have to get rid of a bike. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you could add a bike without subtracting a bike and you had $3 laying around to do it, what would you choose? Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is, I've seen people asking about phone mounts. My 2 cents on the phone mount, and again, I've never used a Quadrilock, which my understanding is that it's phone based. In other words, I use a Samsung Galaxy phone. Mrs. motomattman uses an iPhone. That we would have to each have a special case to be able to use it with the RAM mount X grip. That's not the case, or that's not the case. Yeah, that's not the case, but it doesn't matter what kind of case you have. It doesn't matter what kind of phone you have. I can take my Samsung Galaxy out of the X grip, and Mrs. motomattman could jump on my bike if she could reach the ground, and she could jump on my bike and ride it with her iPhone in the X grip. And there have been videos where Mrs. motomattman has been on my Sportster and she used my RAM mount with her iPhone. Okay, so I mean, she's used the RAM mount, phone mount, that's X grip deal that's in the car. She's used it with her iPhone. So I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of phone you have. Now, they make all kinds of other things as well as phone mounts. They make things that, I mean, you could use their suction cup deal and you could mount a GoPro on the side of your car with it. I mean, they make all kinds of things. They make iPad holders and all kind of stuff. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents, my recommendation. Been using it for quite a few years now and don't have any complaints. Never concerned about the losing the phone. Been on the highway, been on the back roads, been on bumpy roads, never had an issue with it. So, God, look at all the salt still in the damn road. And I hate that because it's like going around a turn covered with sand. But anyway, that's my 2 cents on the phone mount deal. Take it for what it's worth. If you're looking for a phone mount, check them out. I'm not sponsored in any way by RAM mount X grips. Hey, but in RAM mount X grips, if you're interested, yeah, I'd be open to a deal. But I'm not sponsored by them in any way. It's just my personal experience that I'm giving you. Take it for what it's worth. I've never tried anything but this as far as on the bike. I've had, I don't know, 25 or so different phone mounts in the car, and I got tired of the damn things falling off the windshield or the phone popping out of the mount and falling on the dashboard. And because of that, I finally broke down and bought a RAM mount X grip a while back. The suction cup thing on the one that I originally got, and I got them from Amazon. All of them I've gotten through Amazon. You know, this one and the one in the car I got on Amazon. But anyway, the suction cup thing on the first one I got wasn't working right. So I contacted Ram Mounts and they said no. Because I was thinking it was a change in weather was making it fall. And they said no, that should be happening. And they sent me another base part that has the suction cup built into it that mounts to the windshield. And when they sent me that one, I put it on the windshield of the car, and it's been on the windshield, attached to the windshield for over a year now. It's never fallen. The only time that it's been removed was I took it down to use in my truck, and as soon as I was done with the truck, I put it back in the car, and it's mounted back to the windshield of the car, and it hadn't moved. And I say a year, but I want to say I had that all handled. I know it's been more than a year because I had that all dealt with before there was the stupid pandemic. So we're probably talking 2 years with no issues. The customer service was great. They sent it to me. It didn't cost me anything to get the replacement part. I didn't have to send my old one back and wait for them to send me a new one. I just explained what the deal was and they sent me a new one. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. Again, I'd buy a dual sport. If somebody gave me $3 grand to just go buy something, what would you buy? Number 2, if you're looking for a phone mount, try it. Take a look at the X-Grip. If you don't think people should ride their motorcycles with a phone mounted to their bike, keep it to yourself. And I'm not saying that for my video. I'm saying that just in general. I mean, why is there going to be all this hate on the forums? I mean, somebody ask a simple question. What phone mount? Hey, your pocket should be riding with a phone. Leave it at home. I'm an old timer. You're not a real biker if you got to have your phone with you. Step along. Anyway, that's kind of what it sounded like in my head. But anyway, now we'll try to end on a positive note. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope I gave you some information, something to talk about. If you're able to get out on a bike here, make sure you keep the shiny side up and the rubber side down. I hope you enjoy your day and your weekend. And if you like what you saw, click the like and subscribe. Punch that bell. Until next time, see ya.